All right, well, welcome back to another episode of the Buffalo Happy Hour. Michael. Arr.
We have to explain why we're doing this.
Show me the booty. I don't know why he sounded like Mr. Krabs there, but...
But you have heard of me. So, we are not in street clothes.
Yeah, so if you're not watching on YouTube, pause it right now. Pause Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you're getting our podcasts. Pause that right now and go to YouTube and just watch. Even if you don't watch the whole thing, just watch like the first 5 seconds of it. Just so you can see what we're doing. Arr. Shiver me timber.
So, I parked my boat in the arbor. So now we're here, and I'm excited to try drinking this concoction that we have in the glass. So, it's definitely not water.
No, it is not. And it's definitely not whiskey either. So everybody's minds are just wondering, even though we included it on the description. So
that
they can
and
find out.
We're dressed as pirates. So if you don't know what a pirate drinks, then shame on you.
Yeah, then you can just pause the podcast and just don't come back.
I mean, we need them to come back, so please come back. Also, if you're already subscribed, unsubscribe, then resubscribe to bring us back to the top of the algorithm to help us out so we can grow.
See, that gives me like heartache though, because then I see the number drop, and I'm like, what did we? What did we do? Arr!
Oh God, stop. It's fine. Most people unsubscribe and then never come back because they literally hate us.
That's what I'm saying.
It is what it is.
I can't decipher which one's which.
Our top tier fans know that they can just hit unsubscribe, then subscribe in less than 1 second. So not a huge deal. But anyways, yes, we are enjoying Cask and Cruise rum. And this is a specialty rum.
Yes. It's called Authentico Nativo.
And it's how old?
20 years. So almost as old as us.
Yeah, so this is a pretty big deal.
Yeah. But before we get into that, Michael, how was your week? Did you have a good week? What did you do?
What did I do?
Arr.
I think I did so much that I'm forgetting what I did. We golfed.
We sure did.
It was terrible on my part.
Was it though?
I mean, I would rate it a 62 out of 100.
All right, so define your bad day at golf.
Okay. So it was not a bad day, but I would say a bad round of golf for me is just eight strokes per hole. That's a bad day.
Yeah, that's a bad day.
That's a bad day.
But it's still better than the best day at work.
Whatever. But yeah, I would say that is my why am I here? Do I really want to golf? Should I keep golfing? Mm-hmm. So it wasn't that bad. I did have some solid drives. You witnessed them, so that was good. You finally got to witness a few consistent good drives for me. And then my favorite club, that's 7-iron.
7-iron. That's your reliable club. So
and I can smack it with that thing.
But the thing is that we have to get you dialed in, bro. We got to get you so your 7-iron is different from your 6-iron because right now all of them are the same. So we got to keep working on that, but it's going to just get better and better. And then the problem with that is that then your worst days or your bad games are going to get, like, you're going to consider them a bad game even if you're shooting 6s on every hole.
Yeah.
Do you really want to put that stress on you?
Here's the thing. Mike Kelly goes out with 4 clubs. A driver, a 7-iron, a pitching wedge, and a putter.
You have 10 other clubs in your bag. You just choose not to use them. That's all. I mean, it's not a bad tactic. If you're consistent with the clubs that you have, who cares?
That's all Mike Kelly needs when he goes golfing.
Yeah. So I went golfing today, and the course that I played today, you could play with like those clubs because it was such a strategic course to where you had to know what shot you wanted to play in order to like play the course. So you can't just take the driver out on every hole because you'll be in the water or a sand trap or something along those lines, or into the woods because of the sharp dog leg. It was a very difficult course, but it was very fun.
That's why I golf with you, because I would just, how far to the hole? You're like, oh, it's 305. It's like, well, we're driving, boys.
Yeah, except it's
no.
100 to the corner and then another 200 to the left.
Yeah.
So you can't drive that.
So I'm learning.
Yeah. But that's cool. So what else did you do? You went golfing. You worked, which is exciting.
Yeah, but
Other than that, nothing.
I had a date night with Colleen. Mm-hmm. Took the wife out, went out to eat.
Where'd you go?
We went to Cafe Aroma, and then now it's all coming back to me. We went to Cafe Aroma on Bryant. It's her favorite restaurant in all of Buffalo and Western New York. So we went there. Had a nice dinner. It was light, so we did 3 different small plates. And she had a Negroni, and we went home. So that was good. And then the next morning, we woke up, and I helped my buddy with a car. So he knows someone who's fixing up a totaled 2017 Cruise. We grabbed a trailer, swung over to the house, picked up the car, and then towed it to East Aurora to the collision shop. And then we went to his buddy's house where he borrowed his trailer, dropped the trailer off. We had a drink. And then we went to 189 for brunch. So that was amazing because I'm obsessed with 189. Sat outside right by their natural gas fire pit. So we were nice and warm. And obviously we had multiple flamed old fashions. We had their breakfast flatbread.
You just can't beat 189.
No.
It's such a good restaurant.
Yeah. And then obviously a basket of bacon, caramelized. And
Ron
then,
Swanson would be proud.
Of course.
I'm pretty sure he wore like this exact costume for all of the Halloween parties. Just saying.
And then after 189, we shot back to his buddy's house, had a fire, hung outside. And then after that, we went back to his place. And then, so we left East Aurora at his buddy's house, and then I went to my other buddy.
Oh, okay.
Because it's his friend. Mm-hmm. So then I went to his house, and then we had a fire, cigar, got hungry again, so then we ate again, and then went home, fell asleep. So I didn't watch any football at all. I was waiting until Monday. Yeah, I just waited till last night. So I have no clue what's going on in the NFL, basically. I heard Tua took over in Miami as a starter, and then current events took over because we have a lot of stuff going on at work, and hearing Cuomo's latest announcements directly impacted all that. So that kind of occupied my time. And then now we're here. So Colleen meal prep for the week, so I'm super excited. She made spaghetti squash. Have you had that before?
Yeah, spaghetti squash is mad good. You make that with some good like lean turkey meatballs or just regular ground beef. Dude, it's fantastic, and it's such a healthy meal.
Yeah.
You can destroy it as much as you want.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the lunch for the week, is that. But outside of all of that, what about you? We'll hammer your week.
Yeah, so we started watching The Haunting of Bly Manor. You don't like scary stuff at all.
So just get through this.
Yeah,
because
you're just going to tune this all out. So,
Yep.
Haunting of Bly Manor, for everybody that is also a horror show fan, it is the sequel to Haunting of Hill House.
Or a fan.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, they could be them too, but it's the sequel to Haunting of Hill House, and it's pretty good so far. I mean, I think that you would actually like it because it's not that scary, and it's a good storyline.
Moving on.
What do you look for in shows? Do you care about the storyline, or do you just care, like, what
Is it a horror film?
Yeah.
Is it a horror show? That's what I look for. If the answer is yes to those two questions, then I just don't watch it. That's what I look for. I love documentaries. I love dramas. I love rom-coms, as the kids say. But
it's not like scary though, so I think that you would like it. But anyway, so there's 9 episodes, and we broke it out. Gina and my friend Jamie and Jill, we go over to their house, and it's 9 episodes, so we broke it out to 3 nights. The first 3, obviously, math, because 3 nights of 3 episodes is perfect. So we went over there, we watched the first 3, and then the next week we went over and watched the second 3, and now this coming weekend we're gonna watch the finale of it, and I'm excited. It started ramping up at the end on like the 6th episode, and Mike's yawning, so he's clearly on with this conversation. But it's gonna be really good.
I'm yawning because I'm smoked. But anyways, not for me. And when you said ramping up, I just immediately started thinking about demons and things crawling out of the TV.
I mean, it's called The Haunting of, which means it's all ghosts. It's all spirits. It's all people that have haunted their past and are now coming back. But it's weird. So, like, if anybody watched it already in our comments, let us know what you think about it, because I'm kind of, like, interested to see how it ends, because as of right now, I think that there's too much of a story behind it for it to be scary. Let me know if that makes sense in the comments below, because the first season, or whatever you want to call it, they're not really connected at all, but they have the same characters. It's kind of like an American Horror Story where the same people play, but they're different people, whatever. I don't like that part. Anyway, so like the first season of it was scary because there was all these ghosts. Nobody knew what these ghosts were until the end. It was just like this big reveal at the end. Whereas now we know who all the ghosts are, so I'm not scared of them. I don't know. Again, let me know in the comments below if I'm stupid or if it's if you're feeling the same way. Both. I mean, I don't know.
The only comment we're gonna get is loved it.
Yeah, loved it. Hey, subscribe to my SoundCloud. It's like, who uses SoundCloud anymore? Check out these sick beats. It's like, oh, rather not. Rather not. Subscribe to me SoundCloud.
So we have a whopping 4 minutes before the first beep, and kind of really excited for this. So should we dive into the cocktail section or the whiskey review before we dive into the secondary meat and potatoes part of the episode?
We sure can. This is going to be a short section. This is going to be a short episode.
No, it's not.
Yeah, well.
We have so many things to talk about.
All right, yeah, so let's dive into, or you know what, let's just wait until the beep goes, and then the beep will be our transition. Transition.
All right.
That's not very piratey.
So, speaking of
Who are
transition,
your pirate role models?
Johnny Depp. So, in regards to transitions, when do we transition from outside golf game to inside golf game?
As soon as it is not as freezing outside. So when you and I played,
we teed off at 34 degrees. There was a frost delay, and we still were outside. When do we go inside?
That was so dumb of us. I don't know why we played that day, but it ended up being a good day. So, and yes, that was cold at first, and then my middle finger and my ring finger were tingling the entire day when we played. But this morning, all day, they were tingling. This morning I went out, and it was still raining when I teed off, and the guy looked at me
all day.
Yeah, so I had a 8:24 tee time this morning, which I'm realizing that as we transition into the fall and winter weathers, I probably shouldn't book the earliest tee time because it's still not light out by then. So I pull into the parking lot. There's nobody else there. I book 2 slots, obviously, because I don't want to be paired up with a threesome or a foursome. Can't be paired up with a foursome. But anyway, so if you're looking at a card and you see that there's 2 people already playing, you might not want to play with them. So that's why I put down that I have 2 players. And then when I get there, I'm like, my buddy backed out. He didn't want to come in the rain. But anyway, so I get there and parking lot is empty. There's 1 car and it's the worker. So I walk up to the window. This is my first time playing this course, so I had no idea where I was going. And the dude comes running out and he's like, oh, hey. Like I was the first person he's seen all morning. And he's like, yeah, go on out whenever you can. I mean, it's going to be fine. This is the layout of the course. And at the end of it, I told him, I was like, oh, that's cool. And then he looked at me and he's like, what'd you like about it? And I'm like, because I liked it was strategic and you couldn't just pull out your drive on every hole. And then this dude, no joke, goes, oh, yeah, you can pull it out on 1, 3, 4, 7. And he just went through the whole entire course. And I'm like, dude, it was such a long pause that I was even like, all right, yeah, so it's fine. He's like, 10. I'm like, Jesus, can we just hurry this process up? I don't need your recollection of the entire course. And probably 18 too. I'm like, all right, whatever. But anyway, so back to the original point. We transitioned to indoor simulator golf basically now. Because it's not fun to go outside anymore. I mean, this weekend is supposed to be good. If we're getting consistent weather that's in the 40s, I'll go inside. But if it's still 50, I'll go out. Like this morning, I wasn't cold. It was just wet. Because you want to do indoor real bad.
I've never done it. I've never played 18 indoors. So I just want to have my station, have my bag. And I don't have to walk anywhere. I don't have to fumble at the back of the cart. You just grab it, swing, and then laugh at myself.
Or run and pick up your ball.
Yeah, go run and pick up my ball.
It's really, really easy to play ready golf when you're inside. Because my ball's right there. I'll grab it real quick.
Yeah.
We'll tee it up again.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you can do mulligans. You can redo shots. You can do all that good stuff.
You got to teach me, man.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
We should record that. So we wanted to record our outdoor experiences, but realized, 1, we're not videographers by any stretch of the means, and 2, we suck, so it wouldn't be very easy for us to do it.
Beep beep.
It's not bad on the nose. It's not bad. Oh, that you can feel it going all the way down. Putting hair on my chest, more lettuce. Arr.
Oh my god, you make me nauseous. This is oily.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into it then. So we talked about it. We have this came in a pretty cool box or cylinder, if you will. But anyway, so this is Authentico Nativo aged rum, special reserve, 20 years old. We got it from Mary from Cask and Crew. So
thank you, Mary.
I'm not even sure if Cask and Crew makes it or if they just sell it. Because if you go back to what they do from a whiskey standpoint, they don't make anything there. They blend it. So they're similar to a 3-chord where they take barrels from different facilities, one in Canada with it, which is their rye, and one in Indiana. We haven't talked about them in a while.
Super long time.
Yeah. So
what does the container say about this?
So the essence of Panama Authentico Nativo. The land doesn't belong to you. You belong to the land. Authentico Nativo is rooted in Panama, and the land is responsible for its essence. Our craftsmanship uses the most exclusive Caribbean rums aged in bourbon barrels for at least 20 years to deliver exceptional quality. www.nativorum.com. This is for sample use only, not for resale. So again, Mary, thank you very much for letting us have this. I'm very excited. But normally you don't drink rum neat. I don't know if I ever drank rum neat.
But here we are.
What type of rum have you had rum before? To where you know what it is?
Do we really want to get into this?
Yes.
Okay. I went to a buddy's bachelor party and had 11 rum and cokes and threw up all over Clinton Street. Then I threw up all over the drive-through McDonald's lane. Then I threw up all over my front lawn. And then I fell asleep after having 2 ibuprofens, a Gatorade, and 2 double cheeseburgers, had a panic attack, cried myself to sleep at night after removing all of my clothes, waking up my girlfriend at the time, now wife, before she went to work for an extremely busy bridal show day where she had to work like 15 hours.
So was this like last week or something? Or?
And that was the last time I had rum.
Is this giving you like flashbacks?
No.
Are you like that at all or no?
No.
So what type of rum did you have in that rum and coke? Do you remember?
Well, like
okay.
Bar shelf, whatever they couldn't tell you.
Was it at a bar? Or
yeah.
Okay,
I got obliterated. And then the next morning I woke up and then walked my happy ass 9 miles to get my car. And it was 83 degrees outside. And when I got into my car, I almost threw up again because I smelled myself. So I don't drink rum. Some people don't drink tequila. Some people don't drink bourbon. I don't drink rum. I'm good. I'm good.
The only rum that I've ever... I'm not a big rum person either, so... But what's interesting about this, what I just read at the end of it, is that this is aged in bourbon barrels for 20 years, so you can kind of pick up some of that flavor profile.
I also like the very first sentence you said about it, where you don't live off the land lives off...
The land doesn't belong to you, you belong to the land.
Yeah, that makes me happy.
Yeah, but anyway, so Tom is a huge... Like, I shouldn't say huge, because that makes him sound like an alcoholic, even though he kind of is, but no, I'm just kidding. So he likes rum, and he would come over to my house during football season back when I was single and just living on my own. He would come over and we would have, we would call it something that I'm not going to repeat right now, but we would make food in the kitchen. And it was extremely unhealthy food, which probably led to my heart attacks. But we can talk more about that if you want, because I know it was such a riveting conversation last week. So he would come over and we would make like disgusting food. And I'm talking like grilled cheese with inside is stuffed banana peppers and and bacon, which was fantastic. And then we would also make another form of grilled cheese, which we made mozzarella sticks. Like we handmade mozzarella sticks and put them inside the grilled cheese with bacon, with jalapenos. And then it was just whatever we can think of that was unhealthy. That's what we did. But anyway, so
yeah, how was your acid reflux?
It's not bad. So my acid reflux it gets triggered for sauces and tomato bases, but for fried foods, it doesn't get triggered.
No heartburn?
Triggered. No, no heartburn, no nothing. But it's mostly for tomato bases, like sauces, ketchups, and so on. But whiskey, everything
pizza?
else, it doesn't. Yeah, but pizza's an anomaly. I don't care about pizza. I'll burn a hole through my stomach before I ever stop eating pizza. But anyway, so he would come over and he would bring over a bottle of Kraken, which Kraken spiced rum, and we would mix that with apple cider or Dr. Pepper, and those were our two mixers, and we would slam them. It was quite fun. Hopefully Nicole's not listening. Nicole, I love you. That's Tom's wife. But anyway, so we would just drink that and watch football, and then he would fall asleep and take his socks off because that's what he would do every single time. So that's the only rum that I've ever really drank that I know of. I'm sure that I've had wild rum, but I didn't know what it was. So we don't really have too much to compare this to, I guess.
Literally
because
nothing.
we're not rum people. But what we're going to do is try to compare it with whiskey, but we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah. All right. So, should we rate it?
Yeah.
Let's do
the cocktail section first.
Okay. Cocktail section first. Drop the beat for the cocktail section.
Cocktails.
I'm about to go home, and I won't even change. I'll literally drive home in this costume and
so
just stare
you-
at someone in red lights.
So you text me that you're here, and I just walked down my driveway all suited up, and I'm like, hello, Michael. Like, nothing's wrong. My neighbors probably think that I'm mentally ill. But anyway,
Yeah.
Michael, what's your cocktail?
My cocktail is the Mango Perfecto.
No, it's not. That's the wrong one, remember?
You sent me two.
I know. You're supposed to do the
I'm
Manhattan.
so mad at you.
We're new at this. It's fun.
My cocktail is the Manhattan.
There you go.
So it's 1.5 ounces of this 20-year-old rum, 0.3 ounces of dry vermouth, 0.6 of red vermouth, 1 drop of pineapple essence, and a dash of Angostura bitters. You stir ingredients with an ice ball, and then strain it into a chilled cocktail glass, garnished with a twist of orange zest.
Nice.
What's your cocktail?
Mine is called the Negroni Latino. The ingredients are 30 milliliters. I don't know why we're switching to milliliters from ounces, but 30 milliliters of authentic Nativo rum, 20-year, 25 milliliters of Amaro liqueur, 25 milliliters of Campari, and then 5 milliliters of coffee liqueur. And then from there, you combine the Nativo rum, 20 years, Amaro Montenegro, Campari, and Mr. Black coffee liqueur, and orange zest in a mixing glass with large ice. Stir vigorously and strain into an old-fashioned glass over 1 large ice cube. Garnish with an orange zest twist or a maraschino cherry. And that is your Negroni Latino.
Solid.
Yes, sir. All right, want to rate this?
Label branding. This is actually pretty cool because they got the crest of the company on top of the cork. It's nice and fancy with the gold flakes. Tells you it's 20 years old. It's 80 proof, so I can slam it and not be too crazy. Aged rum, special reserve. Authentico Nativo. Which is trademarked, by the way, in case anyone didn't know.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah, it is.
Let's see.
Is that what the R means?
Yeah.
I thought trademark was TM. Color code, said documents, TM.
It is. But then what is the copyright?
I think that's a C.
Yeah, what's the R for? Reserve?
Rum, R.
How do we not know all this corporate language? We're supposed to know all the
What
corporate
does
language.
the small R mean? It just, the first result was, what does the small intestine do? Jesus. What does a small R in a circle mean?
The small
R in a circle comes from U.S. law and indicates that a trademark is registered with the U.S. Trademark Office, USPTO. Use of the R symbol confirms the mark's full trademark protection. Then what the hell is a TM? Is that a verbal trademark?
In case anyone else is wondering, too, the small intestine is used to pull and extract nutrients from the food that you digest with the use of a villi. Go ahead, Derek.
Okay, so the trademark symbol, subscript or superscript TM is used to indicate that the preceding mark is a trademark, while the R in a circle indicates a registered trademark.
So it's like a step above.
Yeah.
So authentico nativo is untouchable.
Basically. If you try to trademark this, you're going to get sued so hard.
Sued for all the money.
What I also like about this is it comes in a cool cylinder.
I agree.
It just adds something to it. I don't know. I really like when things come with packaging.
Yeah, that's why you love Scotch. Scotch.
Down into my belly. All right, so label
I'm gonna
branding.
go A++.
A++.
I'll write this one down as well.
I agree. Nose.
There is a strong ethanol for me today, so I'm picking up a lot of that. Doesn't mean it's a good or a bad thing. It's just, it is what it is.
I'm picking up a little toffee or chocolate.
Are you really?
Yeah.
What do we say? A++?
Or coffee. Yeah, A++.
Or coffee?
Yeah.
What the hell kind of coffee you drinking?
Black coffee, like the real main coffee. Not any of that freaking sugar and sweet and everything nice. What?
You're a disaster.
You're not picking any of that up? I'm picking like strong hints of toffee.
Oh, I thought you said, wait, toffee or coffee? Because I'm picking up like a, almost a little bit of like a walnut and then kind of like a toffee with a T, but not a coffee with a C. You're really getting coffee?
A little bit.
No, I'm picking up ethanol and I'm picking up a little bit of a walnut hint. That's it. That's about it. Probably way off, but that's okay. Playoffs. We're one game at a time, week to week.
I had no. Okay, so I'm Googling way too much today.
And there's some caramel or caramel, depending if you're odd. But from a rating standpoint, I'm going to give it an A.
Yeah, I think toffee is number one for me.
Toffee.
Yeah.
Okay, yep. I agree.
I agree.
Initial
Why do
taste.
they make those so close together? I mean, you bring one letter out and it's coffee.
Andy, you literally blocked off both of my ears with these muffs, even though I'm supposed to hear you through them. Either way.
I'm pretty sure I actually did say coffee, though.
That's why I asked you, how do you drink it? And then you said black. You literally acknowledged it. God, you're the literal worst. God.
All right, so anyway.
Initial taste.
Caramel. Or caramel. Sorry, if you're odd.
And that's strong up front,
Yeah.
too. Like, that actually blasts your mouth.
In like a little... Jesus Christ.
I'm in trouble. Fine. We're never going to get subsidized. Or monetized. There's the first Mikeism.
We're never going to break off into smaller entities ever. I don't even know if that's what subsidized means. All right, so anyway. Jesus Christ. I don't know why people listen.
I don't either. They're probably just sitting there. That wasn't funny. Why are you laughing? With zero emotion watching on their TV screen. Or their phone. I hope our mega fans at least get a chuckle out of it.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
My microphone thing is broken. Hello?
All right, initial taste, caramel, toffee. Also, I found something out. I believe I still have the text because I don't want to butcher it. I definitely don't have the text anymore, so that sucks.
Man.
Unless I did send it to you. Hold on. Remember when I told you about
All right, well,
breathing versus tasting?
correct.
That's important for the initial taste. Anyways, go ahead. What was your point? What were you going to say?
I was going to say, we're still in the Wednesday ramen review, so we should keep it abbreviated.
Oh, yeah. I'm a disaster.
No, it's fine. We already had 1,000 spin-offs. Playoffs.
So there's 5 taste sensors in your mouth, but 21 in your nasal cavity. That's why people naturally smell food before they bite into it if they're hesitant on if they're going to like it or not. And then that's why there's a nosing aspect in regards to whiskey, wine, even wine, and then food and now rum. So that's a thing. Your nose tells you just as much about some things' taste as much as your mouth does. So now you know.
What that mouth do?
Let me know what that mouth do. So
My thing's falling down.
So caramel, toffee, and what else are you getting in the initial taste? Because that's what I'm picking up. And then for a rating, I'll note it down.
Kind of like a little wood sugar.
It is sugary, but I think that's just because it's rum.
Well, and it's also been in a bourbon barrel for 20 years. So you would expect to have some of that wood sugars come through too.
Wood sugar. For a rating, I'm going to go A++.
Mm-hmm. I enjoy this initial taste.
I agree.
Ending note.
Ending note. You do get kind of like the char aspect from the bourbon, but I'm not here to say that that's literally all you pick up on the ending note or that's all it is. It is oily, especially for a rum. I don't know if that's because of the aging process or not. I also don't know how long rums are typically aged for.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Because I'm not an aficionado, but yeah, what's neat about this is that it will make a great cocktail. And it also can be consumed neat, which does speak a lot to the product of what it is, because most rums are extremely off-putting if you're having it neat. So to incorporate this into your inventory and to have it on your shelf, it's not a bad buy at all, because you can do a lot with this, just like any other rum. But typically, there's only one other rum that you can have neat, and it's like from Jamaica,
right? Where
it's an import. You really can. It's not even an import. You basically can't buy it unless you're there, and then you bring it home. So I'm excited that this is something that is in Rochester. You can pick it up and experience it, because it's worth the try.
If you want to get into bourbon and you're a rum fan, I would pick up this, because you're getting a ton of flavor profiles that are similar to bourbon.
Yeah, you're picking up like the oils and the caramel and somewhat of a honey blend with the caramel. It's just not.
All right, so ending rating, what do we get? Or the ending note rating?
We didn't rate it yet.
Right,
We're
so
trying
A+.
to figure out the tasting notes for the ending note.
A+.
I'm gonna go A+.
Yeah, and just like a sugar char and a little bit of what, like a caramel honey.
I'm gonna go honey, char, honey and a char, and then for final rating.
All right, ready?
Give me that countdown.
3, 2, 1.
92. 91.
Nice.
Final rating 91.
So on their site, and this is how not familiar you and I are with rum tasting notes, as well as just our lack of understanding of everything. So anyway, this is the flavor nose, like the nose profile and the flavor profile that we're supposed to get with this. On the nose, it's supposed to be lively, toasted aromas of dark roasted nuts, which I think that we kind of got to in a roundabout way. That's what we were tasting. But then caramelized peaches and bananas. Not getting that at all.
No. A banana? Nah. And I had a banana this morning. I'm not picking that up at all.
I don't even know what a caramelized peach or banana would smell like.
Or taste like.
Well, it's in the nose, so.
Nothing.
No idea. All right, and then the flavor profile is an oak, spice, and minerals, whole nuts, toasted cedar, and oak.
I think, yeah, when we were talking about char, they're talking about toast.
Yeah.
So, whatever. Throw some butter on it and eat it. You know what I mean?
And then imbibe, not sure what that means, but IMBIB. You ever heard of it?
Are you serious?
Anyway, imbibe says, I would guess that probably means like the way to enjoy it. It says sipped neat, on the rocks, 1 to 2 splashes of water with a cigar. So those are the 4 different types of ways that you should enjoy this.
No kidding.
So it's not mixed. Doesn't say mixed at all in here. So,
which probably makes sense why they're typical bourbon cocktails on their website for this rum. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, this does taste a lot like a bourbon. This is very similar to what you would get with a bourbon. Probably because it was sitting in a barrel for 20 years. I mean, that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. This is good.
Yeah. And
it's a lower proof. It's only 80 proof.
Yeah. And rum is just sugar. Like, right? Like, there's not different. It's not like they're mixing it with agave or something like tequila, which you could still have it tasted like that. But this already has the makeup of something that can be made to taste like a whiskey. So I think it's pretty good. I mean, a 91, honestly, that was higher than I thought we were going to give it.
Yeah. I agree.
I agree. Now I'm trying to see if I can smell peaches.
Like we're in holes.
Want to give yourself a little more? We got a whole other topic to discuss.
I'll get there.
You want to jump into it?
Yeah. Let's switch the TV screen. All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are switching into the History of Buffalo segment where Mike and Derek of the Buffalo Happy Hour podcast dive into what made up the city of Buffalo to this point.
So this is the first segment. So we have to go back in time to the early 1600s and reference the way of life prior to the War of 1650. So,
Mike, what's the War of 1650? You're probably asking yourself. We don't know.
We'll dive into it, but let's talk about Buffalo, New York, a.k.a. Western New York, a.k.a. the frozen tundra, a.k.a. Bill's Mafia Land.
We can't say that anymore. It's trademarked. Okay, so is that an R or is that a TM? That's my question.
We'll ask.
So when were pirates around?
They're still around.
Okay, but when was their glory years, Like when were they really throwing it around?
We should probably ask the captain that the Navy SEALs saved.
I'm the captain now. That guy?
I mean, we shouldn't laugh because they literally got smoked by 2 Navy SEAL snipers.
Yeah,
but
I know. When were pirates around?
They're going to be like present day. Yeah. Like the Somalian pirates are an actual threat.
An era of piracy is that like downloading something illegally? In the Caribbean began. Caribbean or Caribbean?
I say Caribbean.
Okay. Began in the 1500s and phased out in the 1830s after the navies of the nation of Western Europe and North America were colonies and the Caribbean began combating pirates. The period during which pirates most successful was during the 1660s and 1730s. So there we go. It transitions not so well into today's topic, but it transitions nonetheless. All right. So
the history of
going way back.
Yes. So there were different groups of Native Americans that occupied land before the Iroquois, nation took everything over. So the original people for where we are, which is Buffalo, were the Erie people. And they were the Native Americans who lived on the south shore of Lake Erie, which is now Buffalo, as well as northwestern PA and northern Ohio before 1658. So they were a Iroquoian group that tragically had their nation decimated in the mid-17th century by 5 prolonged years of warfare with the powerful Iroquois after they helped the Huron and Beaver Wars for control of the fur trade, which a lot of people know that fur trading was huge in our region, especially with the French and what is now Canada. Mm-hmm. So their villages were burned as a lesson to those who dared oppose the Iroquois. In the burning, the Erie people lost their corn storage, which added to the overall loss of life because they had no food to survive winter.
If you were to fight or trade fur, what would you want? What would be your number one fur? If we had a bracket, March Madness bracket style, what fur would you want at the end of it?
The most insulating fur from the heaviest animals, because we're in Western New York. So I wouldn't want a lot of beaver furs. I would want bear or moose or some animal like that.
Yeah.
It's cold, man. I mean, what's their
But like
attire?
the biggest
You know what
thing
I mean?
was beaver war. Like it was all about beaver fur.
Yeah.
So why do you think that they wanted beaver fur so bad up in a place that gets down to like -10 during the winter?
I think a lot of it was because they had bison. But because this was before sport hunting essentially eradicated the bison population, so buffalo were just roaming all over the place. But maybe it was because it was a hot ticket item. Maybe. I don't know. However, the attacks drove the group to immigrate, which the Iroquois League was known for adopting captives and refugees into their tribes. So essentially, the Iroquois had a different business model per se, where if there was a threat to their like nation, they would essentially attack you, win, because they outnumbered and outarmed you, and then they would absorb whoever was left. Whoever survived, they would just absorb, and then they would become Iroquois. They would become Iroquois Indians at that point. That's how it worked.
How old were you when you realized that most of everything in the area was related back to Native Americans? Like all the names of everything.
It was.
Did that ever click for you?
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
And it was, but it was because I had a teacher who specifically taught us that. Like it wasn't because it randomly just became a thing in my head.
Yeah.
I believe it was middle school or late elementary school, but it was only because that was physically taught.
Yeah.
What about you? Like yesterday?
Yeah, basically when you were writing down all these notes, I was like, no way. Like Iroquois, like where I went to high school was actually no. Obviously, I knew that, but I mean, it was probably during the same time. But it's crazy to see, even though we knew this going into like life, basically in middle school, how as you continue learning even more, it all relates back to the Native American tribes in the area.
So if you look at our roads, like Seneca Street goes from East Aurora all the way into Lackawanna, and it becomes Ridge, and Ridge goes into Lackawanna. Then you have Transit, which
But even like
is
Lackawanna, that's a tribe name, isn't it? Lackawanna, Cheektowaga, Seneca.
Everything's based on Native Americans.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is, and that is kind of what I was getting at, where I didn't know how, I did know how deep it went, but even like understanding even more, just like Jesus, everything is.
Well, that's my point. Yeah. So if you look at Transit Road, if you look at Seneca Street, those were, it used to be a trail, and the Native Americans used the trail because it was the most direct route with the terrain and the easiest path of least. It was the path of least resistance from point A to point B. When the white man showed up and just took it all over, we just paved it, and now they're roads. But they were all trails, and that was most commonly used by everybody before when Europeans got here and conquistadors and everything else.
That's so crazy to think about.
100%.
I want to see if we can find, like, contact a historian in Buffalo to see if we can find pictures or something.
Yeah,
obviously pictures wouldn't be around.
The History
back
Museum right in Buffalo.
But that'd be so cool to see how all the trails are now roads.
I mean, obviously there was no picture.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
it has to be a superimposed picture or a sketch or something that showed it all.
Right.
But that'd be really sweet to see.
Yeah. So, let's see. We mentioned that. Ways of life. The raccoon tails were worn on clothing, which gave the name chat, which is French for cat, fluent.
Chat.
Or longtail.
Chat.
Yeah, that. Or longtail. They lived in long houses in villages enclosed in a defensive wall called a...
That was my nickname in high school, Longtail.
So they lived in villages enclosed by a defensive wall called a palisade. So obviously walls work. Corn, beans, and squash was the common crop grown during the warm season. And then in winter, they lived off the excess and the stored crops. And then they were essentially hunting at that point for additional food sources. So whatever they could kill, they would then eat.
Yeah.
The War of 1650s. So the Erie encroached on territory which other tribes considered theirs. So it was a turf war.
So the Erie is a tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 1651, they enraged the eastern neighbors, which was the Iroquois League, by accepting Huron refugees from villages that the Iroquois destroyed. So the Erie welcomed people that the Iroquois defeated, And although the Erie used poison-tipped arrows, they were at a disadvantage in an armed conflict with the Iroquois because they had firearms. So, fun fact, yes, Native Americans had firearms, and the reason being was because them Chinamen in the 10th century originated firearms and black powder. Beginning in 1653, the Erie launched a preemptive attack on western tribes of the Iroquois and did well in the first year of 5, but then things changed, people adapted, and then the Erie eventually lost. So coincidentally, in 1654, the entire Iroquois Confederacy went to war against the Erie and then all of their friends in neighboring tribes. So the neutral people and the tobacco people were also involved in this war. Everybody lost to the Iroquois. By the mid-1650s, the Erie had become a broken tribe, and eventually all remaining groups were absorbed by the Iroquois. So that leads us into why, when we were in school, we only learned about the Iroquois. Yeah. It was because they were the ones that defeated everybody, and they were basically survival of the fittest, and they won.
Yeah, they came out on top.
Yeah.
So the Iroquois Confederacy consisted of mostly the Mohawk, Onondaga, Oneida, Cayuga, and Seneca tribes, and like you were saying, the Neutral Confederacy was there as well and consisted of tribes from southern Ontario. So they crossed what is now the border. The Neutral Confederacy was primarily in Canada, from what I
can't cross that now.
Canada.
Border's closed.
Yeah, until November 21st. Nailed it. So the Neutral Confederacy consisted of the tribes within the southern Ontario, the Wenro people, which during my research. No idea about the Wenro people. Have you ever heard about them? Why aren't they talked about?
Dude, white people barely talk about things that we should talk about.
True. The Wenro people, I've heard of Iroquois, I've heard of tobacco, I've heard of Neutral Confederacy, I've heard of the Seneca tribe, the Erie tribe. I've never heard of the Wenro people.
So what'd you find out?
So the Wenro people are the tribe that occupied northern Buffalo. So kind of from like the split line, because we know the north towns are garbage anyway. But anyway, so the the northern part of Buffalo and into like all the way up to Ontario.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the lake up there.
Yeah, it's Ontario
Lake. Jesus Christ, I'm dying over here. All right, so the Wenro people populated the south shore of Lake Ontario in the east end of Lake Erie and a bit of its southern shore. They were the most likely a subgroup of the Neutral Confederacy, like we talked about. The Neutral Confederacy primarily was most of southern Ontario. And how the Neutral Confederacy kind of came into play was the French found the Neutral Confederacy really helpful in mediating the disputes with other tribes, specifically the Iroquois people, because when the French came over, they couldn't talk to the Iroquois people. The native language wasn't native.
Yeah, the Iroquois had their own... the Iroquois nation had their own language.
Yeah. So when the French came over, they needed someone to help bridge the gap, if you will, from the people across the pond.
Yep.
So, and they didn't have pirates back then. Arr! Well, they did, but not in the area. So the neutral people were the people who were primarily responsible for bridging that gap between the French and the Iroquois. The neutral group consisted of the Wenro people and most native tribes in southern Ontario. In 1651, the Iroquois Confederacy declared war on the neutrals because they were helping the French. And by 1653, the Seneca tribe annihilated the neutrals, including the Wenro people. So the Wenro people was very short-lived. That's probably why we don't hear of them, because they're losers. No, I'm just kidding. They were part of the neutral Confederacy, but then ended up being wiped out in 1653 during the Seneca tribe annihilation. The Wenro region was then occupied by the Seneca tribe. So obviously, once the Seneca tribe annihilated the Wenro people, they took over that area, which now included the Erie tribe all the way up to the middle of Buffalo, and then now Seneca from Buffalo all the way up to Lake Ontario.
Interesting.
So southern Buffalo, so I kind of broke this out by region to help everybody understand a little bit better, and I'm going to throw up a picture in the video as well so people can have a visual representation of what everything was. So in southern Buffalo in 1653, the Erie tribe took survivors of the Huron, Neutral, Wenro, and Tobacco people with a tradition of adopting outsiders. So they took everybody that had basically their tribes decimated by all the wars and brought them into their Erie tribe or confederacy or what have you. So the Iroquois tribe demanded the Erie tribe to send neutrals to their tribe. Instead, they launched an attack on the League of the Iroquois, kicking off 3 years of desperate warfare that eventually shattered the Erie and bled Iroquois strength. a damaged Iroquois tribe found themselves in a new war with the Susquehannocks tribe, who lived right below the Allegheny Front in central Pennsylvania. Even though the Susquehannocks tribe wiped out 2 of 5 Iroquois people, the Susquehannocks tribe suffered a plague that wiped out 90% of their population and military capacity. And by 1672, the Iroquois became the last man standing in the wars. So the Iroquois basically won by default because a plague wiped out 90% of the Susquehannocks tribe. That's insane, dude.
Did you? Yeah, that's...
So by default, I'm kind of going back to what you and I talked about. By default, now the Erie is decimated. Erie tribe's gone. The Seneca tribe was absorbed by the Iroquois. And the Susquehannocks, which was the last tribe that was able to fight off Iroquois, died from the plague. So that whole region now is Iroquois. That's crazy.
And then the Iroquois eventually absorbed all the survivors.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So it just became one large tribe.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And then obviously, like we talked about earlier, the Iroquois consisted of different tribes itself. So they broke out into subsidiaries, if you will, going back to the beginning of the episode. But that's why we still have different regions within the Iroquois tribe, like the Seneca region, the Onondaga, Oneida, all those regions. But overall, the umbrella of all of it is Iroquois. So that's why you see Iroquois fences being put up all over the place. Just kidding. That's not relevant, but...
That's crazy. Speaking of something that wiped out about 90%, fast forwarding to the War of 1812 when D.C. was burned down. Also, Buffalo was burned down in the same war. The interesting thing about what saved Washington, D.C. was not anyone fighting for the U.S. It was a hurricane that showed up when the Capitol was on fire, and it killed more of the British soldiers than the Americans did. So a natural disaster wiped out the rest of the British and forced them to retreat. Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
I mean, when's the last time like a tornado or hurricane hit DC? I couldn't even come up with it.
Yeah. That's insane. But so that is going to be kind of our first segment in analyzing the history of Buffalo. We started with the pre-colonization. Next week, we are going to be talking about first Europeans, which we kind of touched on a little bit with the neutral people being the bridging the gap between the French and the Iroquois tribe. So in that time frame was predominantly 1758 to 1793. So as we go through this, which is all going to go all the way up to episode 8, which is recovery, we're going to discuss everything that related to the establishment of the Buffalo area from a land and, like, I guess,
people standpoint.
Like people, yeah, exactly, and how we grew to be called Buffalo. So that's going to go all the way up to there, which is, it's going to be an interesting series. So let us know in the comments below, again, if you liked what we talked about, if you didn't like it, if you're excited for the next series, which is the great people of Buffalo, and you just want these 8 episodes to be over with. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be something that you and I will be learning, because I didn't pay attention in high school.
I was too busy watching film. So, yeah, I didn't. No, got nothing. I don't even think this was discussed, though. I mean, they literally just talked about the Native American way of life with longhouses, and then how they basically taught how to grow corn, because that was the only thing that was being fertile with the land, especially on the coast.
Do you think that schools would have a better chance of retaining some knowledge if they focus on local history other than U.S. history? Because we had a class called U.S. history.
Same.
But
I never crushed that course. I loved every aspect of it.
Well, nothing happened before 1776 that I'm concerned of. But if they did a class based off of local Buffalo history and this information, I probably would have paid attention a little bit more, because to me as a kid, that is what I can directly see or feel or notice.
Yeah, but we learned this when we were kids.
I do not remember any of this information.
You don't remember learning about Native Americans?
Yeah, but across the U.S., not Buffalo specifically. That's what I'm saying. Like, if we had a class that was local history, where they talked about all this information and what Indians or Native Americans occupied the land, what the pre-colonization was, what Europeans came to this land for what reason, the beaver trade. I never learned about any of that. If they would have focused on that, I probably would have paid attention a little bit more.
I'm sure a teacher would love to do it, but they can't now because their hands are tied with Common Core. So they can't even teach what they want to teach, and teachers can't teach the way they should teach because the government told them you have to do this.
It's so stupid.
100%.
I would 1,000% love to hear about this.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not in school anymore, so...
Yeah, and I can't go back in time, but I also think that it's teacher to teacher and district to district where, you might get a phenomenal teacher in one district, but you might not get that same phenomenal level of a different teacher in a different district.
Yeah,
it's just kind
level,
of, it could be care. I mean, it's just, there's way too many variables. I'm not saying that one teacher is better than another or whatever. Like, all education is extremely important, but what I am saying is, who knows? I mean, there might be a teacher that tailored their curriculum to do just that, where they just focused on what you see locally so that when you see Seneca Lake, it kind of makes sense. You know what I mean? But who knows? So...
Or Skajakwada. What is that?
Yeah, like...
What is that?
And then the teacher can answer that question. Like...
Is that your way of deflecting because you don't know the answer to that question?
Oh, you're actually asking me?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a tribe or if it's a region.
What is Skajakwada? Skajakwada Creek. The name is derived from Philip Kinjokitty? From Philip Kinjokitty, a Native American described as the oldest resident of the region upon his death. That doesn't mean anything about Skajakwada. This information is coming from Wikipedia, so you know it's right.
Super accurate.
Yeah. View Skajakwada Creek. The creek lends its name to the Skajakwada Expressway. Okay, don't care.
We have to go back further than that. Before there were cars, man.
Of course. There's nothing.
We'll dive into it later.
Geographic names, information systems, United States
Yeah, no. We're going to have to dive into that. What's interesting is that everybody from Buffalo can pronounce everything they see, but not everybody can also give you all the data and knowledge behind it and reasons and history.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the name is derived from Philip Kinjokitty, a Native American described as the oldest resident in the region upon his death in 1808. So I don't know if that's what his name was before he converted it to Kinjokitty, because that doesn't sound like a native name to me, Philip Kinjokitty. So maybe his name was Philip Skajakwada.
I don't know.
I'm just going to keep hypothesizing.
We'll learn. So that was episode 1, and obviously we had to start at the very beginning because that's what you do. So once we get into, I'm gonna say episode 4 is the turn, and then once we get into episode 6 and 7, that's where we get to dive into prominent people that directly impacted the city of Buffalo that a lot of people do know about. So that's going to be really good content.
Yeah. So for the outline of the episodes coming up, obviously this was pre-colonization. Next we have First Europeans. Episode 3 is the founding of the 19th century.
Founding and the 19th century.
And obviously you didn't find the 19th century, Derek, you idiot. Episode 4 is solely on the Erie Canal, which is going to be very informative.
It's basically Irish people got drunk, used dynamite, and then got paid in booze.
Nailed it. All right. So basically what you and I do. All right. So episode 5 is railroads in the industry. Episode 6 is City of Light. Episode 7 is suburbanization, Jesus, in decline. And then episode 8 is going to be the recovery period from 2010 to the present. So we're going to try to go through these in 8 episodes. Let us know if you're going to be along for the ride. Let us know what else you would like us to cover specifically in one of those episodes, and we'll do our best to do it. Mike, what interview do we have releasing with this episode? Mr. Garrett Thomas.
I can't talk about it.
You are so beside yourself. I don't even know what else to say with that.
That's exactly what it was. I was beside myself. His business card, I wanted to leave. And then he pulled out like 4 more things, and I'm like, you know what? I'm done. Appreciate your time. Thank you. But you freaked me out, like, to my soul.
Yeah. I don't even know if we planned it releasing with this episode, but it worked perfectly with Halloween.
Yeah.
So if you guys go back and watch it again, this whole week is a YouTube week. I don't care if you listen on Spotify any other week, but watch it on YouTube this week, because with this interview that we have, or this episode that we have, you and I dressed like pirates. And then the interview that just released of Garrett, he performed magic during the actual interview, and it was just mind-blowing.
It made no sense. I'm serious. It made no sense, but it happened. So
he's a close-up conversational magician, which means he really mastered the sleight of hand magic, which, if you don't know or you've never even seen Garrett, it is magic that isn't supposed to make sense. When you think of magic, you can mostly always explain it away because, like the Josh Allen thing. He had 2 cups. Did you see this video?
Yeah.
When Zach Moss came in, he had 2 cups, solo cups, and there's a ball in one of them. And then he would do this like slow switch, and then he would ask Zach or somebody, whoever was in the crowd, to point to which cup had the ball under it. And then he lifted the cup and it wasn't there. He had 2 balls in each, and then everything, he just pinched it when they picked it. So then when he lifted it up, it was the cup and the ball. It's pretty easy. Garrett is a magician that you can't explain anything that he's doing. You can even watch the video. We tried to not cut during that part so you didn't think that we were messing with it. We had the 3 of us like right up on screen, and you can watch our reaction when we did it or when he did the magic to us. And also, too, to kind of go towards his process and just how you can't explain any of it away, Garrett was just on Penn and Teller last night, which is the 19th of October. And Penn and Teller is a magic show, which basically is it's Fool Us. So a magician goes up on stage, performs magic, and then Penn and Teller are magicians, and they try to guess if they got it right or guess how they did the trick. Every person that I watched that went before Garrett, they guessed it. Like, oh, you have a camera at the bottom of your shoe. Like, that's not magic to me. That's just trying to fool somebody, which isn't fun. Garrett got up there. He did a ring trick, which if you've never seen his ring, it is insane. But he basically put the ring on his finger, and then he was able to move the ring from one finger to the next finger. And Penn and Teller both, they cannot figure it out. It is true magic. I don't understand how somebody can be that talented and do what he did in front of our face.
And what's sweet is that he graduated from Depew High School.
Right.
Like, he's local as it gets,
yeah.
And he's crushing it on the big stage. So definitely give him all your attention. You're going to want to do that anyways, and it's very interesting to see how well he does and how he does it, and it's just mind-blowing. Yeah. So, Garrett, thank you again for all of your time. Greatly appreciate it. Mad respect for everything you do. I couldn't do it just because I don't have that amount of concentration to do it myself, because your story is sensational where you're dyslexic, you can't even read the magic books, so you invented your own magic tricks because you wanted to perform magic, and you're doing it in front of the masses and killing it. So congrats to all your success, all your future success, and excellent job on everything you do.
Yeah.
So thank you.
And he's also a writer for David Blaine, so that helps too.
Yeah, he invents tricks with David Blaine. They just like hang out and come up with magic tricks, so no big deal.
And he was telling us on a trick they did for Kanye.
Yeah, he went to Madonna's house to perform magic at her house. I don't know.
I was
nauseous 97% of that interview, so it's fine.
So go back and listen to that interview. It was a great time. And go show Garrett some love on his Instagram and Facebook and everything, because he posts a lot of stuff on there. And he also has a YouTube channel where he explains some of it as well. So it's cool. But anyway, Mike, do the plugs. Take us out. We're on episode 57.
That's insane. Episode 57. Thank you for all your continued support. If you don't follow us already, we are at Buffalo Happy Hour 12 on Instagram, Buffalo Happy Hour on Facebook, Buffalo Happy Hour on YouTube. We appreciate any and all support. Please subscribe if you have not already. It doesn't cost anything. It is totally free. It takes 1 second to click a button that says subscribe. Hit the bell for the notifications. Thank you again for everything. We still have sweaters for sale as well. If you're interested in buying a sweater, portion of our proceeds are going right to the Buffalo Niagara Waterkeepers organization, who cleans the shoreline for all of Buffalo and up into the North Country of Western New York. So thank you for all of the people that have purchased a sweater from us already. And we're looking forward to pumping out the rest of our inventory now so we can get ready for our next batch of merchandise, which is going to come up after winter. So thank you, guys. We appreciate all of it. And Derek, this has been episode 57. I will see you next week for episode 58, and for season 2 of our mini discussion section
segment miniseries.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're going with.
Our segment miniseries.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Drink responsibly. Be a good person, and we're out.
And don't litter.
Nailed it.